Hi, everybody. I'm Shamir Karkal, co-founder of Sila, and I've been a participant at VSUM, I think from maybe from the first one actually. So it's exciting to finally get a chance to actually demo. Thanks to everybody for making it possible. Kind of by quick way of background, I co-founded a fintech neobank called Simple, like 13, 14 years ago, and then spent a couple of years at BBVA building API platforms before co-founding Sila in 2018. And our mission has always been to make it easy for anybody, but really developers, to program with money. And what that really means is the ability to build applications, projects, whatever, fintech, crypto, where you can onboard your end users, verify their identity, pull in money, hold it, transfer it, and then at the end of it, pay somebody else out, right? And that's fundamentally what we do at Sila. We focus a lot on ACH payments, and then also, of course, everything else that goes around it, right? This is our website, silamoney.com. You can explore it, and then of course, we have the API docs. We have our status page, and then we have a console where you can manage all the different applications and everything else. But what I primarily wanted to do today was quickly walk you through our APIs using our demo app, right? And this is the demo app. It's live on demo.silamoney.com, and you can go into the console, create an application, pop your keys in here, and get this going. I just went ahead and did all of that already. And the first thing you have to do is onboard a new user, right? Everything is users, wallets, and transactions. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new entity. And you'll see that there's fundamentally two types of entities you can onboard, individuals or businesses. And by the way, this is all hitting our sandbox API. And the responses that come back from the API will show up here on the right-hand side, so you can navigate through that. And this is a little bit more visual than Postman, for example, which you can also use, of course. I'm just going to go ahead and go create an individual entity. First thing you have to do is pick a unique handle or an identifier, really. And I'll go ahead and create one. That one is already taken. So let me create another one. And yeah, so this can be any alphanumeric handle, right? The next thing is what level of KYC. Now, KYC, if you guys understand how it works in the US, that there's many different ways of doing it. We support a few different ways, actually, even more than this, but this is what it's built into the demo app. But I'll just pick the most standardized version, which is probably what most of you folks are familiar with from fintech applications in the US. And I'm just going to quickly pop in some of my data. And this is the sandbox. So I don't actually need to put in my real social security number. I just need to put in something that is formatted appropriately. All the data has to be formatted appropriately, but this is not real data. And I'm going to go ahead and register that user. And as you can see, we got the endpoint back here that Shamir62 was successfully registered. At this point, this user has not been KYC'd. This data has not been verified in any way. It's just stored in our database, right? You can, of course, KYC the user, and you do that by just calling another endpoint which requests KYC. And that's asynchronous, so you don't wait on that. You get a webhook notification back as it completes, and you can refresh the status. It typically takes anywhere from like 3 to 15 seconds to complete the KYC. And what we try to do in our sandbox is try to mock as accurately as we can the behavior that you will see in production, right? So this also takes a few seconds to complete, but it's pretty quick. And as long as your data is pretty reasonable, it'll always complete. One thing that we kind of skipped past is actually, if you go back here, we do support document upload, where you can upload an ID card or whatever. And depending what happens with the KYC level, sometimes you have to do this, right? There's a whole list of documents of different types that might be needed to verify some piece of data that secure or LexisNexis couldn't verify, right? Like whether it's your SSN, your address. Of course, for businesses, there's a whole separate list of documents, right? So you can add a new document, choose the type, upload it, and then verify it and complete your KYC that way. But we don't need to do all of that. We're approved it immediately, so we can skip past all of that and get to wallets. Now, wallets are just pockets of cash. They're just an identifier which holds a balance fundamentally, and a name. And there's no reason why you need to have any limitations. Every user on the platform has one wallet by default, but you can add additional ones and you can name them anything you want. And it's a 1:n relationship, so you can have one or thousands, right? And just create as many as you want. The next step is to link an external bank account. We support a few different ways. You can actually just enter a routing and account number and verify that using our APIs. We do have some validation on that, but this is not the preferred way, mainly because it tends to be highly fraud prone, right? Letting people type in an account and routing number online. Not only will they make errors, your good customers will make errors. All the fraudsters will love that, right? So we prefer using something like Plaid. There are Plaid processors, Plaid and MX actually, so you can use either of them and just onboard with them and give us a token, which we'll then use to get all the data we need. Or for demo purposes, we also have our own Plaid integration that I'll quickly walk you guys through. All of you should be familiar with this, I suspect. This is hitting Plaid sandbox, so the quick the magic credentials are user good and pass good. If you submit that, that should work. And then pick one of these accounts and continue. So that's that. And then as soon as this refreshes, you should see that we have an account linked. It has a default name, which you can change if you want. And then, of course, again, this is a 1:n relationship. So a user can have as many accounts linked as they want, and you can manage all of those. And so now we have onboarded this user. We have created some wallets for him. They have no balance yet. And so the way that we need to create a balance in any of those wallets is actually to do an ACH transaction. Let's do a same-day ACH for a decent chunk of money. Now that seems like a lot, but everything is denominated in Sila, which is really just 1 cent. So that's just $1,234 that we will pull of fake money, of course, into this wallet. Now, as you guys may know, ACH in the US is far from a real-time payment system. It takes anywhere from 2 to 5 days to actually settle an ACH transaction, and it can be returned for even longer than that. This is the sandbox, and we don't expect developers to wait 5 days to test a transaction, right? At the same time, we don't want to build the expectation that ACH somehow is real time. We have a couple of instant payment options, but those are separate from your standard and same day ACH, right? So what happens here is actually it takes about 5 minutes for an ACH transaction to finish in the sandbox. And it will go through all the statuses that your normal transaction in production. So it'll be queued, it'll be pending, it'll show up as submitted, and then after a while, it'll show up as completed, right? And when it's completed, which is in about 5 minutes, you'll see that the balance in this wallet will increase. I don't want to wait 5 minutes for all of that to happen, and we're going to run out of time. So let me just pick a user I created earlier, switch to them, and here you can see that they have a balance because there was a successful transaction that I did. I'm going to fire off another transaction and let's do same day ACH on that one as well. That's another issue which will show up as queued now, and that will also go through soon enough. But because we have a balance now, we can transfer some of those funds to anybody actually. So one of these other handles, and transfer transactions are happening on our own ledger, so they're pretty close to instant. And that will take a few seconds there to finish, and then it'll show up as successful. And then the last thing that you can do is redeem, right? Like you can send that money to an external bank account, one of the ones that you have linked, and that's let's go ahead and quickly do that as well. Now, redeem transactions will be a little bit faster than just transfer transactions. Wait, like, go ahead and do that. Okay, cool. So fired off that. Transaction submitted. Okay, and we can see that the API response here gives you all the data on what's happening with the different transactions, which ones are pending, and as they get queued and go through the different statuses. That's basically the functionality. Now we support a few different types of ACH. We can do instant transactions as well. We can also do different types of KYC. And this demo doesn't have it, but we're just rolling out card processing as well, where you can link a card and pull money into a wallet or a virtual bank account and hold it and transfer it in pretty much using the same APIs. Of course, onboarding a card is a little bit different from onboarding an external bank account. And happy to sort of answer questions also. I'm sure JB and Brendan have been have been handling all of those in the chat already.